Hello everybody, this is WarStory video blog. This is a famous book about etched dress bayonet. And here is author of this book, Wayne Тэketom. Hello Wayne.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. How are you? How was your show?
It was a very good show. It was a very good show for me. I looked around the entire room and I found a couple of beautiful pieces in here. Not too many, because a lot of these are very, very rare to find.
That's interesting.
And one of the ones that I did find was this one right here.
Interesting motif. With anti-tank
It's an
cannon.
anti-tank, and it has a machine gun crew on one side, and then on the other side is the FW Holler 3 scene pattern. It has a tank coming over the hill. Here, I'll set it down.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, a tank coming over the hill, an artillery crew, and a machine gun crew.
Here is a tank, artillery, and machine gun crew. You can see it on the screen.
It's a little bit larger over here.
This-
That's the large one. That's the small one.
And the large one is for privates?
Yeah, those were for enlisted men, and the short ones were for NCOs,
For
The NCOs.
under-officers.
under officers, right. These were for enlisted men, and the short ones were for NCOs.
And there is an interesting detail that you wrote in your books, that NCOs, under-officers, got smaller panels.
Yes, if you compare the panels between this and this one, you'll find an extra bookend on this one. And the smaller ones don't have that bookend.
Yeah,
You can see.
yeah, that's
So
interesting.
actually, the enlisted man actually got more for his money than the NCO.
Because everybody knows that German soldiers purchased orders for their own money.
Oh yes, these were private purchase pieces. Okay, the soldier would come into the store, retailer, or distributor, and they would see all these bayonets that all say in memory of my service time. And they would buy these, put them in their scabbards, of course, and wear them to a movie show or a dance, or take their girl out somewhere, and they really appreciated having these things. Of course, they lost the war, which I'm sure they didn't think about when they were buying these things. Okay, so consequently, these ended up in piles of different items in the town square, and they were picked over by the Allies for souvenirs.
So it was the way why all these items came to United States.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You see, there weren't many brought back by the Russians, because the Russians weren't allowed to have such things, and they had to throw them away. The same with England. In the United Kingdom, those guys weren't interested in souvenirs because their houses had been bombed by Germany and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's true.
All they wanted to do was get home. Okay, but the Americans, on the other hand, are famous for liberating souvenirs. And that's what we did.
And it started from First World War.
Oh, this started, from the First World War, you're absolutely right. The Americans brought home the Lugers and the helmets and the swords from the German army, and the officers, which had beautiful etching on them. Beautiful etching. And so they would bring those home as souvenirs, and this tradition by Germany was continued into the Second World or the Weimar period as such.
And I would like to ask you about a couple of your items during last 10 minutes. During last 10 minutes, I saw these two bayonets.
Yes.
And could you explain about these bayonets? As I remember, this one I saw in your book. Maybe. And this is looks the same, but there is a difference because
yes, there is.
It is like mirror type.
Well, it's inverted. The etch, as you can see, the same bird, but it's inverted. Here you have the frosted background and the bird being shiny, and here you have the frosted background in the bird and the background is shiny. And this piece is a very rare piece because it was made prior to 1938, and we know that because of the angle of this etch. Robert Klaas never used this angle after 1938. They used this bookend after 1938, which is called the potted plant bookend.
Interesting. And there is a stamp, and
yes,
stamps are.
Now, Robert Klaas made these things for the Richard Herder Company. And that's Richard Herder's stamp on the back.
That's interesting.
Yes.
And I think I will buy these items.
They're different. They're very different, and they're quite hard to find out in the buying public. Very hard to find.
Yeah. And I think it's displayed very well because they like a mirror. Here we can see hook on the up and hook on the down. Cross guard here. Yep.
That's all right. But you see, one of the things that is interesting about putting the trademark of the buyer here on the bayonet is that when other soldiers would ask, gee, where did you get that beautiful thing? The soldier that owned it could say the Richard Herder Company, and of course that would give them more business.
That's really nice display you have. What is your favorite items? What is your favorite item on your display?
One of the nicest pieces I have ever owned is this one right here. This item, I believe, was made by the F.W. Holler Company. And it was made specifically for Herbert Fleichenberg. Now, Herbert Fleichenberg was also a distributor in Zolingen. Okay, and Herbert Fleichenberg ordered this special order piece so that he could put the piece, maybe hang it over his display of bayonets so that the soldiers could see them in the store.
You mean like a sample item?
Yeah, well, like a sample item, but he wouldn't sell this one. No, it would be for the others.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has a beautiful staghorn drip. And as you can see, the etching is very deep on these. Very deep on this one. It's one of my favorite items.
And as I see, there was blue in here.
Yes, that was all blued at the time of the purchase order. And through the years, through the 70 or 80 years that it's been around, it has faded somewhat. But you can still see the remnants of the blued name in the center.
Yeah. And this one is a type for Gibbersjäger regiment, for Jägers, or everybody can...
No, this was just a ploy to get the soldiers to come in to buy these. You know, this was a one-of-a-kind special bayonet.
Okay, thank you very much. And is there something special here? Maybe second one?
Oh yeah, this one is a special. It's a one-of-a-kind piece.
Yeah, and there is a name here.
Yes, Willie Holford.
And also with a stag grips.
Stag grip. Now the stag grip was optional. Most of the stores that the soldiers would go into and buy these had stag grips from other companies in the back room. And a good salesman would say to these soldiers, would you like a stag grip? It's only 4 Reichsmarks more. So the soldier would certainly say, absolutely. So the store owner would go in the back room, take out the Bakelite grip, and replace it with Staghorn. And it was a marvelous concoction to get people to spend more money.
Okay, thank you very much. It's
you're
interesting.
very welcome.
And
You can see the Eichhorn trademark.
Yeah. Here on the blade.
Yeah.
And I have one more question for you.
Okay.
How do you transport your items? How do you store it?
Well,
is it better to put it on the scabbard?
In the scabbard?
For me, not.
I never, and I've been doing this for 40 years, I have never put an etched dress bayonet back into the scabbard after I've taken it out. What I do, in transportation, I just put the scabbard in the back of a padded case.
And bayonet inside the case.
Bayonet is inside the case, but for display purposes, if you like to, you can display them like this, but always keep the scabbard separate. Well, this one happens to have, this was a special order item, the Herbert Fleichenberg, and you can see how it has a police troll. And you can see the beautiful blue scabbard.
Yeah, it's blue and is much rarer than painted.
That was a special order, so they did, a lot of money in this. And it has a nice frog. But I've never put it back into the scabbard.
Okay, thank you for idea how to store it.
Well, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you for your explain. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And have a good day.
Have a good day and have a safe trip home.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye.